When I talk about objective truth and spiritual systems, I usually like to use the symbology of a prism. White light is like the truth, the objective, unfiltered truth. And that prism is perspective. And then out of that perspective is all these different colors that make up the rainbow. And that the more you understand philosophy and different religions and different spiritualities, you take all of those as having a degree of potential truth, but none of them to be the objective truth, which I feel like what the Buddha was all about, was not defining the truth. Because the Buddha and even the Taoism specifically believes that if you define that truth, then it is not the truth. They believe that the truth is not definable, right? But the more that you capture all these things and allow all these things into your mind as a possibility, the closer you get to conceiving what objective truth is. And I have made the argument to people that we, as humans, we operate within this system that we call reality, this realm, like a bubble. That's how I refer to it, like a bubble, right? And that it is impossible for us to understand things that are outside of that bubble. And outside of that bubble is still part of the fabric of reality, technically, right? You could actually consider that bubble reality. I don't know what you would consider outside of it. But, anyways, you can think about it, you can what if about it, right? But as you approach the boundaries of that bubble, your thinking and your philosophies are going to get more and more complex and complicated and what if, and less bound by physics and other forms of science. It's essentially going to be fantasy because you can't prove. The closer you get to the edge and even beyond it, the more it is going to be not really provable. And so while even I like to go to that spot, I know that you got to turn around because you could spend forever trying to think about how to define that. And my argument to that we will never that this realm that we're in is the system, and that we cannot understand what exists outside of the system that we exist in, is simple. There are things within our system that we do not understand, right? We do not understand what a black hole is, what dark matter is, what dark energy is. These are things that we know exist based off of inferences and how other things move around them, but we don't know what they are. We have many ideas or philosophies of what a black hole is, right? But we don't actually know. They're more theories, right? And so how can you define what God is, right? And I think when it comes to God, it's more closer to the Hindu ideology of Brahman, the ultimate reality. It's a really complicated thing, right? It's really simple to say, oh, all this is God, right? But I think it's more complicated than that. And I don't think it's really describable. You could spend hours trying to put it all together and make it make sense. And sometimes it just makes more sense up here than it does out of here. And there's a lot of people who have had like near-death experiences and things like that, and they say that they saw nothing but blackness. But I'm going to make this argument to you, right? Everything that you perceive is a hallucination of your mind, right? And so if we accept everything we perceive as reality, then we can't chop up near-death experience to be a hallucination of the mind, because if this is a hallucination of the mind, and a near-death experience is a hallucination of the mind, doesn't it have just as much quantifiable evidence to be real as what we're perceiving right now? The only difference is we're saying, no, this is the main state because I experience this state of existence. This is the main state, and anything that differs from this main state is not real, and that's a superiority of human-centric thinking or self-thinking. But I make this argument. The reason people come back and only see darkness is because maybe you leave this realm and you experience what's beyond the realm. But then if you come back, you can't bring that back with you because your brain literally cannot interpret it, cannot understand it. Your brain is meant for this realm of existence and not what is beyond. It would be like taking information from one type of file structure in computing and putting it onto another and expecting that file structure to make sense, right? Like if you take Windows file structures and you put them onto a Mac and you don't have any extra applications or anything like that, the Mac is just going to see those files as some random files. It's not going to know what to do with them. It's not going to understand them, right? And that is a simple way of explaining it. My perspective. It's my perspective. I'm not saying this is the truth. I'm just trying to explain my perspective.